Hi, my name is Vikram Gupta, and welcome to PreSales Collective's Journey to PreSales. We will be listening to fascinating stories of SCs that made their journey into solutions engineering as a career. Our goal is to inspire you, because if they can do it, so can you.
Hi, and thank you for joining us, the PreSales Collective and everyone's journey to PreSales. Joining me today is Ken Gauld with Cavallo, formerly SalesPad. I'm Angela Harper. I'm a Director of Talent Innovation Strategy for PreSales at Dell Technologies. Ken, what is something fun that you would love to do that you did not get to do in 2020?
One of my favorite pastimes in the summer months is to go sailing. Where we are in West Michigan, we're right next to the coastline of Lake Michigan. And being stuck on a boat with a crew without having much space is not conducive to the whole social distancing thing. So I did not get to go sailing last year, and I'm hoping to get that going again as we get into summer now.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name is Ken Gauld, Michigan, and I've been in the pre-sales role for about 4 years. I joined SalesPad, which is now known as Cavallo, as a sales engineer, and since then I've recently been promoted into a technical sales manager role. So for me, I'm in this new leadership position with a team of about 3 or 4 that I'm now supporting.
That's awesome. Congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
A lot of people stumble into this role. Tell us your story.
Yeah, I too stumbled into pre-sales. In fact, I didn't even know what pre-sales was when I was first getting into it. So the story behind that is that earlier in my career, I'd been working at a couple of multinational companies, Amway and Wolverine Worldwide. Both of them are in our area. They're several billion-dollar companies, multinationals, and their main line of businesses are manufacturing and distributing of consumer goods. So Amway, you might know, is like nutritional supplements and products, cosmetics, and Wolverine Worldwide of footwear with brands like Merrell and Saucony, Sperry, Keds, Puppies. So to name a few of those, they might be recognizable. So in those roles, each of those, I was business systems analyst. So it's kind of pre-sales adjacent, but not directly the same. Did not have the sales aspect of it in any capacity. But what those gave me was further exposure into ERP systems and business systems and how business operations really function. So I gained firsthand experience of how these complex multinationals operate and how the software was there to support what they're doing. At a point, it was time for me to move on, and as I was a BSA, I was interviewing for a position at my current company now as a business systems analyst as well. But the role was kind of flipped. Instead of being a BSA supporting a company with their operations, now would be a little bit more outward facing, working with a distributor of software, a producer and distributor of software, taking those BSA skills and turning them onto the customers. So I interviewed for that, and when they called me back, the conversation was something more like, well, we're not going to hire you for that BSA role, but we have the sales engineering role you might be interested in. And so I just kind of played along. I hadn't heard of sales engineering at that point, but clearly it worked out and couldn't be happier now.
That's great. That's great. What skills do you think maybe you had in your other role that you mentioned a couple, I think, but that's been really helpful, or what skills do you think makes you a good fit for pre-sales?
Yeah, so in those previous roles, it did prepare me well for moving into the current one now in pre-sales. I would, at those previous companies, work with internal stakeholders to find out what their requirements are, identify any gaps, blueprint and solutions design work, and then eventually seeing that through to go live of a project or completion of a project. So really that perspective of having to drill into the business problems, applying software solutions to it, that came from my previous work experience, and now I get to use that for Cavallo and all of our customers.
What was something that you had to learn that you didn't have whenever you went into pre-sales?
Yeah, when I moved into pre-sales, I did I was very used to working with a team that was of development type, and now I had more of a partnership with the sales team. I had worked previously with the sales team, so I had to figure out how a lot of the sales ops kind of stuff works. That became pretty natural pretty quickly for me, fortunately. I've got a great group that I work with, and we're really great partners with the sales team here. Everyone gets along really well, and it's a fun environment. But for me, that was a big change. I had to kind of shift gears from just being this very internal perspective to now using more interpersonal skills in the selling capacity.
Whenever you think about others, if they're listening, what would you say that they need, to be a fit for pre-sales as well? How would they prepare? What would they do to kind of be a better fit?
Yeah. So getting into pre-sales, I'd say one of the most important things is having a value, really bringing some value to the table, so you can be a good partner to your sales team that you're supporting, the AEs and reps, and then to your customer as well. So the way I work to achieve that is to having really deep knowledge about our customers, what they do, how they do it, and potential challenges they face as well. So I use that prior experience of working at a couple big distribution type companies, and then pairing that up with just keeping abreast with all the latest and greatest. So we've taken, as a team, a very academic approach to some of this as well, reading about the industry and the challenges that distributors face, kind of at a college textbook type level, to see different metrics that might drive success, and then working back from that as to how we can help operationally achieve those.
So I know whenever you first kind of approached PreSales Collective for this project, you even quoted Aristotle as something that whenever you were describing the role. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and what the connection is?
Yeah. So in the question of just kind of what advice would I suggest, and for me, I don't feel like being a sales engineer is particularly some great big mystery. The principles, the Aristotle rhetoric principles apply, where if we're trying to be persuasive, the principles of ethos, pathos, and logos apply. And those are the rhetoric appeals. And to define those, ethos, first of all, I think we can all relate to what these are, even if you haven't heard these specifically before. But the ethos is being credible. So knowing your topic, we're often the subject matter expert, looked at as the expert in the room. So that being credible, having the credentials, so to speak. You can't fake this, though. You have to actually know your topic. So that's where having that deep knowledge of your product, your customers, that kind of thing comes in. The pathos is the emotional appeal. So often we try to say, pull out those pain points of what a customer is dealing with and how that actually personally affects them. Yeah, I'm working long days and I have to work weekends because I'm just stuck with dealing with these problems. Well, now you can empathize with them. Here's how we'd be able to help you. Wouldn't it be great? You can get those weekends back so you can finally relax. And logos, the logical reasoning. So you also have to apply data and facts to enhance the credibility, justify that emotional decision. So I'm sure those probably make a lot of sense or seem very natural to the things that we are actually communicating to our customers and how we talk to them. And I think it's an ancient concept there, so it's nothing that we should be too surprised about. It's pretty basic at the core.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do feel like pre-sales is this big complicated thing, or where it's really hard. I love the fact that you do have to know your. Yeah, I think a lot of people do feel like pre-sales is this big complicated thing, or where it's really hard. I love the fact that you do have to know your subject matter, and you do have to be the trusted advisor or the credible person on that. But it's not really this great big mystery kind of impacted you.
Yeah. So I joined the company at a phase where being a sales engineer was kind of a new concept for the company. I joined as SE number 2, in the company. So the team since then has multiplied a couple times, and we're still not yet a big group, but if you go from 2 to 6, I guess that's a 3 times multiple, right? Through that, we've developed a lot of importance and influence in the company as well. So kind of had to go from this new team with, well, what do you do? What's the point of an SE, to how we influenced the product and product development roadmap. I think PreSales Collective has done a good job of kind of identifying what that sphere of influence is, and we have to kind of develop that within our company to establish ourselves. And then obviously recently, as we mentioned at the top as well, for me, the advancement opportunity to now be technical sales manager with our company has been the big step in my journey that I'm really excited for. So now we've got, I get to manage the team. I'm really going to act as like a player coach to keep in the day-to-day, but also be able to kind of hopefully clear the road so that they can be very effective in all the opportunities and engagements that we work with.
Well, now we're going to go to what's called rapid fire questions. So I'll just ask you some of these questions. I won't, there's several on the list, but I'll ask you a few of them, and we'll go from there. All right. What do you wish you knew before you got into pre-sales?
Well, I was intimidated by it at first, and I've come to realize that it shouldn't be. So that would have made it a lot easier in that transition that we spoke about. So at first I was intimidated, thinking that, well, I didn't have a sales background. That was going to be difficult to be in front of these boards and executive groups of companies. But come to find out, a lot of the customers we work with and the people that we interact with, they're commiserating with you, they're sharing their problems, they're cheering for the successes. It's more camaraderie than really this like high pressure sales type of role. So I've come to find out that there's no reason for apprehension after all.
What is the first thing you do in the morning?
In the morning, I start out looking at what I need to accomplish for the day. There's often a lot of different opportunities at different stages. Some are right at the finish line, some we're just starting discovery phases. I usually chart out what I need to accomplish for that day in order to be able to prepare for those things. So keeping on top of kind of run a Kanban view of the opportunities at the various different stages and who I am working with on each of those, and then plan that out from there as to the conversations they need to have to keep things moving forward.
That's great. It's always good to have a plan, right? And execute on your plan. Very cool. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Curious problem solver. So part of being a sales engineer, and I say that discovery phase, always asking questions, and it might be a little relentless, but like the 5 whys of why do you have that problem? Why does that perpetuate? The curious nature of that often brings the things to the surface, and then turning that into the solution. So we're all at the end problem solvers as well.
Okay, last one. Where do you want to retire, and how does being in this career help you with your long-term goals, like retirement?
Eventually, I'd like to retire somewhere a little warmer than Michigan. Like mentioned before, sailing is a big pastime. So when the lake is frozen half the year, I'd certainly like to go to a place where maybe you could do that year round. I don't know. We'll throw a dart at somewhere at the Caribbean, and wherever that ends up, I'll go there. How pre-sales helps me hopefully get to a point with that. I find that it's very fortunate to kind of have the sales aspect of the role has some nice upsides to it. Like the variable part of our compensation plans often have a large upside that hopefully would make it so that we can, if we're successful, do really well for ourselves. I did find being a business systems analyst with the company, you're often kind of pigeonholed, and there's not a large upside to a role like that. So I like the being in the sales aspect of it often has a lot of rewards, and it's just a rewarding role in general to be able to be that problem solver. So hopefully that would set me up in a position where I'd be able to have an enjoyable retirement like that.
Nice. I can just imagine you sailing in the Caribbean. I was going to invite you to Texas, but the Caribbean sounds better. So,
Yeah. Hey, if it ends up on that side of the Gulf, I guess I'll end up there too.
well, very good. It's been great talking with you, Ken. I really appreciate it. Anything you want to leave everyone with as a final thought?
I think this to keep studying your stuff. There's been a lot of things that you can do just maybe through like self-guided reading. I want to give a shout out for our Chris White and the 6 Habits of Highly Effective Sales Engineers. I found that to be a really useful tool. We as a team studied that as a group, and we kind of broke apart each of those elements and how we could use those. We've also sharpened our skills by taking courses with, like, say, Six Sigma yellow belts. So we really can focus on being efficient in waste reduction, turning that into useful info for our customers. So just keep studying. It doesn't end once you become a pre-sales engineer. Obviously, there's a lot that you can always keep learning. So that's something that I make an effort to do. I think it's served me really well.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you, Ken. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.